Alright guys, this is Julia, and today in this video I am doing an experiment called the Windows 10 Downgrade experiment in a virtual machine. So right now I am creating a virtual machine. I'm going to tell you guys what this is about, but pretty much what this is about is I wanted to try to downgrade every version of Windows 10, keeping all the files. And I'm not just talking about a keep nothing and transferring everything. I'm talking about straight up keeping everything. So currently in this VM, I am installing Windows 10 build 17133.1. I would have installed 17134, but I didn't have the ISO, and I still don't have the ISO, and I guess till tomorrow I'm getting the ISO. But you guys can see there's Cortana setup, and this is 17133. Yes, I did use a 32-bit VM because it doesn't take up as much storage, and it just runs better in virtual machines if you use 32-bit. So I'm installing the guest editions, and then once it boots up, we are going to do it. So you guys can see it was 17133.1. I customized it completely to make it look different, and I actually checked it for updates, so updates is fully working. It was getting some updates, although it wouldn't get 17134, which is the issue because it wasn't signed up for Insider. Hopefully when it gets released to the public, it would be able to get it for 17133 users. So at this point I am running a FCU MCT, or Fall Creators Update Media Creation Tool, which is for build 16299, and we're going to try to go from 17133 to 16299 and see what happens. And yes, that is a downgrade because obviously the number is lower. So that's what we're going to do. So it's downloading Windows 10, and it's downloading the Fall Creators Update from Microsoft. And once it does that, we're going to go back in the files. Now, once it says keep nothing, end it through Task Manager so it doesn't clean up the setup files, because we want those. And then all we have to do to make this work is to change the compatibility to Windows 8. That'll trick it into thinking that it's Windows 8, not a newer version of 10, and it will let you go through with the installation. So you guys could see that it says creating Windows 10 media. Now, because this is a downgrade, I mean, it may vary what it does. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because really you're not supposed to do this. But that's why I said, if you want to do this, do it in a VM. Don't do it on your main. So it says keep nothing, so I ended it. And then going in the ESD folder, changing the compatibility. You guys can see it's 16299. Change the compatibility to Windows 8 and run the file again, and hopefully it will work, right? Well, nope, it did not work. So we're going to boot back up, reboot, check it again, try it again, because maybe it was just a glitch, right? Well, let's hope it works this time. And it looks like it's trying to load, so yeah, no, it's a no-go. It's not gonna work. So we change it to Windows 7. Will Windows 7 work with that compatibility? Because now it thinks it's 7. I wonder what's gonna happen. And no, it's still a no-go. So I changed it back to Windows 8, ran it anyways, and if it didn't work, we're just gonna clean install FCU, which I know I did not want to do. I wanted to keep everything, but 17133 to 16299 was just a no-go. You couldn't fool 17133. It was like, oh, I know you're trying to downgrade me to FCU. Yeah, not gonna happen. So it says installing Windows 10 because we're doing a clean install of the Fall Creators Update because that was the only thing that was gonna work. So after this, we're going to try to go to Fall Creators Update to Creators Update and see if that works. So you guys can see there's Cortana setup, and we're setting it up again. And I did move all my stuff from Windows.old after this. That way I could add everything back because I want it to be at least a little customized. I don't want it to be a completely clean install. I want it to look somewhat different than a clean install. And so I'll show you guys that it's on 16299 now, but of course it didn't keep everything. I had to go to Windows.old. So there's the Creators Update Media Creation Tool, or CUMCT, and we are on 16299 on that VM, and we're going to run it. connecting the network, running the file, but it doesn't work because it says we need a newer version of the tool. That's when the ISOs come along. I drag over the ISO for Creators Update because that's like the only MCT that doesn't work too. So I show that it's Creators Update, we go to Compatibility, change it to Windows 8, run setup again. So it says obviously get important updates, we don't need to update CU, CU's old. Well, obviously if you're on it, update it, but making sure you're ready to install, and look at that. It says I can keep everything. So we're going to make a snapshot FCU to CU. You guys can even see the setup file and what version the VM's on. And it's basically saying keep everything on a downgrade, which is crazy. But the question is it going to work or is it not going to work? Like, how far are we going to get with this? Well, I'm not going to say because it'll spoil it. You guys will see in this video what happens. I'm narrating this actually. I've never done this before because I had 4 hours of footage. So I wanted to time lapse and narrate over it. So it is working on updates, which is going from FCU to CU, or Fall Creators Update to Creators Update, and it was actually working. As you guys can see, it's actually working on updates, which is insane. Like, how is this even possible? Well, does it finish? We'll find out. So it looks like it's working so far, and I wanted to do this experiment. I've actually done this before a long time ago, but I made too far of a jump. I didn't do one by one, and it didn't work out very well, and it just reverted itself. But as you guys can see, we are still working on updates. It's getting there. It's actually almost done, and it's working so far. And there we go. Welcome to Windows 10. Got my user still there, telling me to do the settings, and sure enough, it looks like it worked. And it did keep everything intact there, but that notification looks messed up. You guys can see the apps, they're just like all gone. Like all the actual apps, like settings even was gone. Like the store was gone, Edge was gone, everything was gone. It was really bizarre. And there's the weird notifications again. They were all messed up. I guess they were different in CU. And I show you, it is CU 15063.0. And the settings icon doesn't open, nothing happens. And those are all the apps that are left, which is just the basic stuff. It's not even actual Windows 10 apps. They're just the apps that were built into like every Windows. And you guys can see we have our Windows.old. I was trying to find a file to find the file version, but I wasn't finding anything, unfortunately, to show you guys. But you guys saw that I downgraded it and time-lapsed it. So basically, we got this to work, which is just amazing. But I wasn't finding really anything. I was trying to. And you guys can even see 3D Objects is still in this PC, so you know it was on FCU. And there's settings. Oh no, we search settings and there's nothing. But there's Cortana settings, but I don't want that. I want the actual settings. And I did try Windows Key I. It was not working either. Oh, oops, forgot to turn on the internet for the AU MCT. And it was not working. And I don't know if that was because something's wrong with the MCT, or if the VM was just so messed up that it wouldn't work. So I just dragged over the AU ISO or anniversary update. Don't confuse that with April update, because now there's two AUs. You can see that's AU enable compatibility for Windows 8 and run it. And it even says you won't be able to go back to Windows 8. I find that funny because it thinks the other installation, FCU, was Windows 8 when it was actually FCU. And you guys can see the setup file and the version and how it's actually going to let us keep everything. And we're installing, but as you guys can see, I was deleting Windows.old because actually the other video file got corrupted because it was in the middle of installing or updating, or downgrading should I say, and it crashed. The VM crashed because of low storage, so I was trying to free up storage. I did make a snapshot while it was installing before it ran out of storage, so I was able to revert it, and then I had to delete Windows.old and a couple VMs and stuff just to free up enough storage because unfortunately it corrupted. So now I'm just moving some videos over to my other partition, and I keep an eye on the storage, and you can see I just freed up a bunch of space because I'm pretty sure the VM crashed, saying there was low space again. Or actually, I think I paused it to free up space, and then I resumed it because it was gonna crash, and I didn't want it to crash. So I kept an eye on the storage. And yes, it was the VM taking up all the storage, because after deleting it, I had almost 80 gigabytes free at the end. So you guys can see it worked, but look at the buttons. They look all messed up, like they're purple. And the background's a darker blue. It just looks completely messed up at this point. But it did work. You guys can see it is the sayings for AU, the getting things ready thing, and the updates to protect you in an online world. We're installing the guest editions again because it seems to get messed up. And the start menu was not opening, and I forgot to empty the recycle bin when I deleted windows.old, so just did that. You guys could even see that it's AU and there's still 3D objects in this PC, and that's only an FCU because the folder was still intact. So I was just looking through the windows.old directory, and you guys can see there, I don't know, you can see 3D objects again, and I renamed it to AU, and I was just looking at stuff at this point, and I showed that it was still there. It was also still in Windows 2, not even just in old. So I had to right click the start menu to access everything because the start menu was bricked. Also, all the icons on the bottom were also bricked, but Defender worked. But all the other icons weren't really working. Like sound, internet, all those icons just weren't working. So I shut the VM down, and I was just deleting the old inaccessible ones. And I was trying to delete some snapshots because they were taking up a lot of storage, and my computer didn't have enough to go further. It wasn't letting me delete them because apparently you have to have storage to delete them because it merges them. So I'm just going to boot the VM back up and I believe delete windows.old from the VM because that'll free up a lot of storage. So change the ownership over, or it doesn't let you delete it. Settings wouldn't open, so I had to do it the hard way. I couldn't just delete it in settings, which is way easier. So we're going to delete windows.old. That way we can free up enough storage to go AU to NU. And it was having a little trouble deleting it, but I eventually got it, and it let me delete the snapshots. So I was deleting all of them but the first one, and then making a new snapshot before continuing. And you can see I have 43 gigs now. That's plenty of storage now in order to do this. Now, if I had a bigger hard drive, I wouldn't have had to delete those, which I'm actually thinking of doing this experiment again, but only when my computer has one partition, not two, which in the summer I'll be reinstalling Windows with one partition only, which will help me to be able to do this more successfully because I'm less likely to have problems running out of storage. I should probably do it soon after I reinstall though, so it doesn't fill up. I don't know how I fill up drives, but I just do. So we're booted back up, and I show that it is AU still. Same install that went all the way from FCU to CU, then CU to AU. And we're going to make a new snapshot, call it AU to NU. And we're going to do this again. Now, is it going to work? Well, we'll see. So we're making the snapshot, because obviously we want to make the snapshot. Looks like I forgot to time-lapse that part, actually. And now we're copying the NU ISO. And you guys can see it is indeed NU. Enable compatibility for Windows 8. And it still says you won't be able to go back to Windows 8. So it still thinks it was Windows 8. And you guys can see the last updated date. And you can see the WinVer and the file version. And it is installing, saying it's going to keep everything even though it's a downgrade again. Because obviously when you trick it, it does that, and it just seems like you can't trick the latest build, but you can trick all the other builds, and they believe it. And that task view button was still working, but everything else was not working, which is interesting that worked. So there we go. There's the old NU upgrading screen. I think we all remember that, especially when I did that challenge when I went from 8 to a random 10, the Windows 10 build challenge, and I saw that. I freaked out because I knew it was outdated. When you see that, it's a bad sign. So it's rebooting here, but you guys can see blue screen. It just didn't work. It straight up said nope. And you can look up that error if you want. I didn't look it up, but if you want to look it up, you can. And it's attempting to recover the installation, but it probably won't, because there's another blue screen again. You're probably like, oh no, is it in a boot loop? Well, no. It just restored the previous version, which was AU, because of the Windows.old, and we are back, and it's AU. It didn't work. So I thought I would do something else. Now, the install was probably corrupt from all those downgrades. So we are just going to make sure compatibility mode is off, and we're going to run it. And yeah, it says we can't go back to Windows 8. And I'm going to do a repair install of AU. Now, it wasn't running. It just kept giving an error, so I had to reboot the VM. I rebooted before because I thought it was just going to completely reinstall it, then I realized, well, I want to use the Windows.old. So I run it again, and it's going to let me keep everything because it's the same version. You can go from the same version to the same version. It will let you. That's called a repair install. And I put it on there just, I guess, so I remembered that it was a repair install that I was doing, since I have to narrate all over this 4-hour footage. And it is working on updates, which you guys can see it. The screen's now purple because it actually remembered, but before it was always blue, because it thought it was going from 8, not from the same one. So I guess it was different. So you guys can see it is working. We're repair installing because, I mean, the start menu wouldn't open, and a lot of that stuff wouldn't open. Task view opened, surprisingly, but the start menu did not open. So we just needed to completely redo this thing, because we needed to repair all those files because it could have had something to do with why it didn't work. So it's back up and running. The start menu opens. Everything's working. We're still on AU there. Settings opens. And yeah, it's all working. So we're going to try to do this again. We're going to do take 2 on this and see if that works now that the files have been repaired. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to run the ISO. We're going to make sure compatibility's on for Windows 8. We're not going to get that message because it was AU to AU before, so it doesn't think it was Windows 8. And you can see the last updated date and the setup information, as well as the WinVer. And it's making sure we're ready to install there. And we're going to run it, and it's going to say keep everything. And we're going to say, yeah, we want to keep everything. And you guys can see my storage was starting to get low at 22 gigs or 20 gigs. I can't read that properly. It was one of the two. And you guys can see that we got the WinVer and the setup still pulled up on the screen. So that way you guys can see that it is working. So we're restarting and we're back to the upgrading screen again. Now, it was on its first reboot that it would do the BSOD before, so hopefully we don't see another BSOD this time. But I guess we're gonna find out in this video if there's another BSOD. Let's hope not. So it is upgrading Windows, or should we say downgrading Windows. I bet someone's gonna try to edit that and make it say downgrading Windows. And blue screen. It didn't work again. That's the same error code, I believe. It's going to restore the previous version again. Same exact spot as before. So you're probably wondering, what am I going to do now? Well, is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to completely do a clean install of AU. Because this install has had a lot happen. Once again, it wasn't running again, so we had to reboot and do this again. So we're just gonna tell it to keep nothing. Even though it's gonna want to keep everything, we're gonna change it to nothing, and we're just gonna do a clean install. because maybe this install's just had enough. Maybe our repair install wasn't working. 3 times a charm. This is the last time I'm gonna try it. And if it doesn't work, we know it's a no-go, and that it's just not gonna work. But I just wanted to make sure it was nothing to do with that install. So, we are reinstalling AU, as you guys can see, because it says installing Windows, which means it's reinstalling it, even though it was already installed. We're just gonna do a simple reinstall. And the reason why I like doing it through there is Keep Nothing actually creates a Windows.old, so you can get all your files in Windows.old, and then it makes it much easier to get your files back, especially if you have a drive that has a lot of stuff on it. So we're customizing it. It's the old setup because Cortana's setup started in CU and up. You know, it's not CU and up if you don't have Cortana's setup. So we are going to do this again. There's the old Windows.old, also with 3D objects in there. We're going to delete it to free up some storage. And we're going to try this again, but first we're trying to delete some snapshots, which I couldn't delete them because it wouldn't let me regardless, so we're just going to enable compatibility mode for Windows 8 for the NU, and we're going to try it again, which NU is November update. I should have said that earlier. So we are running it again, and I couldn't delete any snapshots, so hopefully we don't run out of storage, which we don't. But I just wanted to make sure, but I couldn't do that unfortunately because it still wouldn't let me. So we're back to the upgrading Windows screen one more time. And we're going to see what happens. So usually at 30% it reboots in BSODs. But I guess we're going to see if it actually does that. So we're at 22%. And we're just going to wait and see what happens. And BSOD, once again, same error. It's going to revert the previous version, and it's a no-go. You can't go anniversary update to November update. There's way too many differences. It's impossible. You can't do it. It's just simply not going to work. It won't. Too many differences. I've tried it 3 times in 3 different scenarios. So I decided to restore the snapshot I had before, which is the original install that kept getting downgraded, that has the brick start menu and all that. And we're going to copy the NU ISO again, and we're just going to tell it to keep nothing and do a clean install of NU. That way we can try to go NU to the original Windows 10 RTM. So we're going to put the NU ISO in there. And once we do that, which I'm going to show you guys there, just looking through the old files, or is that the new files? I think that was the new files. But just looking at it, because some old files are still in there. So making sure compatibility mode's off, we get that you can't go back to Windows 8 message, so you know it's the original install that kept getting downgraded. Because I wanted it to keep nothing. You guys can see, now it won't let me keep anything. Because I didn't use compatibility, but in that case I didn't want to, because it wasn't gonna work, because we got a BSOD 3 times. So you know you can't go AU to NU. So now it says installing Windows. And once it's installing, we're pretty much erasing everything, but we can go in Windows.old and we can get some files. So we are now 52% there. And you guys can see that it is indeed working. And we got the old setup again, and lots of great features to get excited about. You know, if you see that, it's NU. So now we're going to install the guest editions again, and we're going to basically customize it like before. We're going to rename that to NU, and I showed the old files with the 3D objects still in there, even though it was AU, but it was downgraded. So there's NU 10586.164, which is what the ISO gives you. And then we're going to copy over the Windows 10 RTM ISO, take a snapshot, NU to RTM. And then after we do that, which I show it's 10240, enable compatibility mode for Windows 8 again, and we are going to run it. And you guys can see it's going to let us keep everything in it, and it's worded a little differently because they changed the wording, I think, in NU. So the wording was a little different for RTM. And NU went up, it was all the same. So that's how you know it's an older installer. And there's the setup details along with the WinVer. Which, amazing how you can install an older version on a newer one and keep everything. So there's the upgrading windows, but you can notice it says sit back and relax, because in RTM it said sit back and relax on it, but if it doesn't say it, then it's NU. So NU is the same screen, but without sit back and relax. That's how you can tell the difference between if you're installing RTM or NU. So it says 23% there, and it looks like it's working because it didn't BSOD at the same spot that NU BSOD'd. Because it blue screened at the same spot at 30%. But it looks like this is indeed working. So we're going NU to RTM, or November update to the original Windows 10 RTM build 10240, or released to manufacturing, the first one released. You can see it's working, it's going through the setup, and it's completely working. And you know it's RTM because it says this won't take long, and that's what RTM says. So that's how you know it's RTM. Then taking care of a few things. Installing the guest editions, as I said, it always gets messed up. And even that screen was a glitch. That's a glitch in RTM. We go to WinVer, it's 10240. And you can see the non-colored title bars, because RTM does not have the colored title bars. We renamed it to RTM. There's the old Windows.old. And I go to a file and go to details, and it says 10586, which is November update. So just showing the file information. The start menu looks a little funny, but it just unpinned everything. It kept all the apps. None of them has ever kept all the apps. See, even settings works. And it's the older settings app. And we can actually still use the start menu. It just reset the start menu. We had to re-enable all of those options to add them back and then pin things, and it was fixed. So it pretty much just reset the start menu. Edge was working, just didn't have the internet connected. And yeah, everything was working. Like, NU to RTM was more of a success because nothing was broken. Showing once again the file information on the Windows.old files and the WinVer, showing it was a downgrade, and it did work just by tricking it. It even says go back to Windows 8, which I find really funny. It actually says Windows 8, so it thought it went from Windows 8 to 10 RTM, but actually went from NU to RTM, which is kind of funny, which is probably explains why. And just because I wanted to try again, I didn't try an FCU ISO, so maybe it was something to do with the MCT. Now, I'm going to be running the thing again, and it still says keep nothing, so it's just not going to work on 17133, regardless if you're using an MCT or an ISO. And I said it caught on, LOL, and I was showing, yeah, you're trying to install an older version, it knew, yep. I did post it on Twitter, by the way. So I just closed it. You see it cleans the setup files. I said maybe it will work with 17134, but I don't have the ISO yet, which I'll be getting on Monday when the April update comes out, which is when I'm getting the ISO, and I can try this again. So I deleted the VM, and I freed up all that storage. So, to conclude, going from 17133 to FCU was a fail. Going at FCU to CU was a success. So Fall Creators Update to Creators Update was success. Creators Update to Anniversary Update success. Anniversary Update to November Update was a fail. And November Update to RTM was a success, which is the most success because going from FCU to CU removed all the apps. CU to AU had everything corrupt, but maybe if I did a fresh install of CU and went to AU, it would have been differently. I'm going to try this again in the summer when I have a bigger hard drive, and I'm going to actually try CU to AU, like a fresh install of CU. And you can see at the end of that RTM, which I couldn't say because there wasn't a lot of time, that it actually still had the old searching for display driver message from NU, because I don't even think RTM gives that message at all. Oh, it's ending already. Well, thanks for watching, then. And that's it, I guess.